Hey legends, this is by Manifestation. I'm your conscious manifestation coach, Cerise, and I help you get out of your own way so you can manifest your version of an awesome fucking life. In today's video, I wanted to tell you a little story time about someone that I used to be friends with at a previous job that I had, and how I can see how she manifested a relationship with a guy that she, as far as I'm aware, I mean, they definitely got serious, met each other's families and all that shit when we were still friends. I don't know where they're at now, but I'm sure that they're in a really good place. And I just want to talk about how this whole story went down, because at the time I was still in my like logical brain, didn't fully understand the ideas behind conscious manifestation and how it works. And now I kind of look back and can go, yeah, I mean, she didn't know that's what she was doing, but she got what she wanted against so many odds, or perceived odds. So I worked with two people who ended up hooking up at one point. The guy, it's a story that I'll tell later because it's a good example of boundaries that I had to set with him. But the guy was initially interested in me. I didn't reciprocate that. Things went a bit awry for a little while and I had to set some boundaries. So if you're interested in a video on boundaries and how to go about them, let me know with likes or comments. That'd be much appreciated. It helps me figure out what you guys want to see videos on. I know that within the law of assumption community specifically, there's a lot of rigidity and kind of dogmatic thinking about it, that you shouldn't set boundaries and things like that. I disagree. And I teach integrated law of assumption, which I always say is I've integrated the things in that I needed to, because I learned the hard way by hitting walls, not real walls, metaphorical walls, like getting burnt out, getting a bit unwell mentally and physically for a while, because I was listening to all the people that were talking about solely focusing on the thoughts and putting yourself in kind of exposure therapy type situations, not really outwardly showing yourself respect and kindness and love and doing it all internally. And I think that there's definitely more to it, and that the law of assumption is just one manual for conscious manifestation, and that people who tend to have things like anxiety, have been through hardships, heartbreak, traumas and things like that, will benefit a lot from the cheat codes that I talk about. Again, you don't have to do them, but they, from my experience, honestly just make the process so much easier. The thoughts piece is so much less labor intensive, in that you don't feel the need to constantly be affirming, and it's not necessary, because a lot of your opposing thoughts, yes, they start here because they're processed through here, but then they get caught in a loop on your body, which is your anxiety and other opposing things that you're constantly usually in a heightened state of, to the extent of not realizing it, and how much that is then affecting your thoughts in that loop. Okay. Anyway, that's not what we have to talk about today. Again, let me know if you're interested in a boundaries video with that particular story time as an example. But when I was still kind of going through an iffy period with this guy, having to set my boundaries, he then went to drinks at another friend of mine who I was like my best friend at the time, to her apartment with this other girl that I later became more friendly with, but I kind of like she was a friend of a friend more so in the beginning. And I think they were getting ready to go somewhere, having some pre-drinks, and my friend whose house it was, whose apartment it was, went off to go and like get ready or something, and then came back and found the other two had been playing like a little drinking game and they'd smooched, and I was like, oh, relief, like he's gonna leave me alone because there's someone else in the picture. And I never told this girl what had gone down with him either. I didn't feel any need to. I was also in a situation where nobody really had my back. I didn't feel any need to. But at some point in their kind of situationship, it started off as he got spooked and he started to take some distance, and it was a bit weird and awkward for them because they worked together and they had to see each other every day. This was way pre That Must Not Be Named That Affect the Whole World. And I mean, good on her, which is why the thoughts piece is all you really need to do, because she was anxious. She was talking about it a lot. She had his friends giving her shit. She had people asking constantly about it. And she still got what she wanted in the end. And again, I was in my more logical mind at that point. I didn't fully understand conscious manifestation. I even kind of, thought like, geez, girl, it's a bit cringe. Do you know what I mean? Which I genuinely feel bad about now. But this is another reason why last week's video, I talked about how everyone learning about conscious manifestation actually lifts the vibe of the whole world, because we stop being as judgmental coming from a place of our own limiting beliefs, right? Which is just one of the reasons why it makes the whole world a better place. And she was constantly talking about this guy, but the thing is that the way she talked about him was, he's going to regret this. Like, he's totally going to realize that I'm the best thing that he could even get, which, look, really nice dude, big heart, insecure for sure, which is part of the issue that he and I had with each other, which again, I can talk about in a later video. Not generically attractive, but like definitely had a lot of things going for him personality wise, a lot of charisma, really funny, big heart. But like, as far as like superficiality, yeah, he was punching above his weight, right? So that's what she was saying, and that's what she was constantly saying on repeat. He's gonna totally feel ridiculous about pushing me away. He knows I'm the best thing that ever happened. I'm the best that he could do. He's totally going to come back. Like, this is just the way she was talking about it. And she was unashamedly talking about this to other people. Now, what I want to say is, again, you can totally do that, but she made it more difficult for herself in that people were saying shit, making fun of her, asking questions and things like that, which she could have avoided. And it would have just been a lot easier for her to stick to that story. But she did it anyway. There was also a period where our mutual friend, that kind of is how her and I became friends, had left early one night after work drinks. And I stuck around because I could tell she was really down and just needed someone to talk to. And I do a lot less of this shit now because it's very fucking draining being that person for other people and not, like all the time. And then by my own fault, not being the kind of person who would lean on other people until like I really need it, which is something I'm working on. I'm not saying it's healthy. But yeah, I stuck around and I let her kind of have someone to vent to. And I was talking from, again, a place of logic. Manifestation isn't logical. And sort of saying to her, like, I can't even remember what I said, but at some point she goes, look, Cerise, I don't want you to tell me what you think I need to hear. I want you to tell me what I want to hear. And I was just kind of like, well, I'm probably not the best person to talk to about it then, to be honest. And a lot of you might be able to relate to having friends like me in this story, right? So, and I have friends, or I've had friends that have been that way. I don't really, funnily enough, connect with them that much anymore. Not because of that, but just because they weren't the versions of them that I was wanting to be friends with. I wanted friends who would, even if they kind of weren't into the same shit as me, were not judgmental and just kind of let me have my things, even like as long as it wasn't hurting me, anyone else, and it was making me happy. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, she said, Cerise, I appreciate that you're telling me what you think I need to hear, but right now I need you to tell me what I want to hear. And not long after that, we ended the night. But that's really it. Like, this was years and years ago now. So I can't really remember all of the conversations, but that was kind of her attitude always. She did talk about him a lot to her friends, which again, it's said within this kind of community, don't do that. But that's only because it can make it hard if you just stay on top of your thoughts. You can, as long as you're the story of your end goal being a sure thing far outweighs any kind of fears that you might be picking up that other people are sort of a projection of, right? And you can still ignore those fears. But she was definitely anxious a lot. It definitely affected her work, her focus. It was a bit of a drainer on her friendships, to be perfectly honest, before they kind of got back together, which they did. Obviously, I think you probably got that from the beginning of the video. But yeah, at one point he did go to her and say, I made a mistake, pretty much. Like, I don't remember the exact words that she said that he'd said, but he went to her and was like, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Essentially, a lot of the things that were in line with what she was saying to everyone else. He's going to regret it. He's going to feel really stupid for pushing me away. I'm the best. I'm like the best that he could do. Blah, 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 blah. And that's essentially what he came back and said to her. And then that was, I think there might have been one or two little hiccups along the way where he got spooked, but then he did come back and have that. Again, she didn't care. She maintained that story. And then he eventually came back and they were official. And they worked together as well. So they were seeing a lot of each other and they were still able to make it work, just in case that's relevant to anyone's story, because I know that I've had clients who work with their SPs. And funnily enough, the boundaries that I had set with that guy paid off for me as well. Again, I won't go into that in this video, but around that time that they became official, he and I actually became really good friends for a while. Anyway, that's pretty much the gist. Persist, persist, persist. I did not intend for that to rhyme. And again, I don't remember all the specific details because it wasn't my story. It was just something that I was observing that popped into my head the other day. And I thought this would be really beneficial for my subscribers to hear and to also know that when I talk about the things that I would rather you weren't doing, it's not that those things are stopping your manifestation. You're never fucking up your manifestation. She did so many cringe things like thirst traps on Instagram, over giving like presents and things like that to him, which like I've been guilty of with friendships and romantic situations, like being an overgiver in that way, as well as just my time and energy, talking about him all the time. You know, Neville, again, I'm not a Nevilleite, but I know that a lot of people here know that I teach integrated law of assumption, and Neville is the most well-known teacher of law of assumption. He does talk about essentially keeping your manifestation a secret to yourself until it fully forms in your physical world, hardens into fact. So all of these things are like all the cringe things that she did, all the things that I recommend that you don't do. You're never fucking up your manifestation if you do them. I just want to make that really clear, right? So if you happen to do them in a moment of weakness or a bad self-concept day or whatever, don't think you fucked up your manifestation. Don't think you have to go all the way back to the start of your journey, right? You've taken a wrong turn on your, like, according to what Google Maps wanted you to take, your inspired action, you've taken a wrong turn, you just course correct and get back on track. Will it push it out a little bit further? Yeah, likely, but it doesn't mean you won't get it. And again, if you just stop doing the things that I suggest you stop doing, then you can remove all of that uncertainty of like, did I push it out further kind of thing? Did I push it further away so that I have to wait longer, and all of that anxiety? She didn't know about law of assumption or conscious manifestation. She didn't realize that's what she was consciously doing in those moments. And for a lot of people, that's better, right? Because it's so easy to overcomplicate these concepts. And I understand that. Again, why I say do the nervous system regulation and the feel good things, especially for this particular reason, is you will worry less naturally. You'll concern yourself less with the when, the how, the middle altogether. It'll be easier for you to live from the end. It's okay if you address things in the moment. All time already exists. Past, present, and future are already created, and and every possibility already exists, and you're just moving into all these different possibilities moment to moment. So don't stress about that part. And the easiest way to get to a point of not stressing about those things is doing your nervous system regulation work and focusing on doing things you enjoy that are unrelated to your manifestation. Because when you feel good or neutral, cool, calm, collected, whilst you don't have to manifest, it really helps the thoughts piece. It really helps you focus less on the time and therefore, you know, manifest less time between the thing that you and the thing that you're manifesting. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks for being here as always. You're a fucking legend. Don't you ever forget it. And until next time, have a good one. I've left my front door open and people can hear me recording.